Hey, this is Ben with Undercovers cast. Unfortunately, I can't make the show tonight, but as one of the founding members, I thought it was important to speak on some of the changes with the show going forward. So first of all, Tommy will no longer be part of the show. He has another opportunity, so I just want to thank Tommy for everything. He started as one of the founding members, and we wouldn't be where we are today without Tommy. Between the draft coverage and everything through training camp, I want to thank Tommy for the excellent work and just want to wish him good luck going forward. So that being said, Connor, that Florida Guy 5 on Twitter, is going to be our new co-host. And what does that mean for the show? That means we now have a Dolphins fan joining the panel, which may seem a little weird because we talk mostly Bills, but we aren't exclusively a Bills podcast. So with the division race tightening up, Connor's going to bring a unique perspective, a different perspective. And, we'll talk more college, maybe more XFL and USFL.
Still no word. And here we are, low quality video to now, trying to expand, viewership, uh try to gain a new perspective of Bills football, NFL football, hands into maybe what the new USFL, XFL merger might be. Definitely a new lights that I have on diving into college football. So hope the best for Tommy and the future of the show for you with you, Connor. It's going to be just the list of new things that just piling through my brain the last, 2.5 days. It's just like, this fits, this fits, this fits, this fits, that fits, this fits, and cannot wait, uh, for the future of the show and us moving forward as a fun group just to talk football.
It fits so perfectly, Paul. It it's funny because everybody that I know is like, "Oh, there's a Dolphins fan that's jumping on board full time with a on a Bills podcast." Hey, I love the opportunity because unlike most of the Dolphins fans out there, I don't actually despise Buffalo. You have to look at it from a realistic standpoint. You got to look at it from a team building standpoint too. Realistically, this is still one of the better teams in the league right now, despite the record. And there's a lot of competition that's going to be had throughout the last bit of the season. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a fun time, especially considering that y'all look unbelievable right now. But so do the Dolphins. And we'll have more on that as we go on, I know. I got a lot to say, especially to the Bills fans that are probably watching this going, y'all didn't win much. Oh yeah. Let me explain. Let me explain what we won. I promise you, I'll give you a different perspective.
That's the hope. We as the show, we branded ourselves at the beginning just to be, yeah, we started as 4 Bills fans. Obviously, there's the Bills bias in that, just to talk Bills football because that's what we know and that's what we've loved for years. But like the main roots of the show is to bring you NFL and Bills content along with all the other stuff that comes with it. It's like a full brand of football. Obviously, it's hard to fit everything in 1 hour, but like we do our best. And obviously, now adding you, this definitely brings this shining new light of crack open the NFL sphere, if you will, and talk little, not we obviously will still talk Bills football, obviously, because 3 other of the coasts are Bills fans, but like obvious we will talk Bills football, but now this brings the light to open up a new box to talk NFL stuff. And I have a few things in store for a new for the new football light. I have a college interesting takes, interesting Chip Kelly uh thing. Chip Kelly had a press conference the other day. He said some things, we can dive into that, but obviously let's dive into the Bills Cowboys game really as the start of this to start the show with some Bills content. The Bills really just blew past the Cowboys, which is literally just one player, James Cook. I mean, the Bills, for the first time, you could say in almost a calendar year, decided today is the day that we're just going to run the football and nobody can stop us. And they did exactly that. And I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoy Josh Allen being that kid on the science project, did nothing, and still got an A.
Well, didn't he also he threw what, 1 touchdown pass that whole game?
He did.
7
One,
for 9, or I don't remember how many passes he threw for, like, 95 yards?
I think he went like 7 of, let's see, hold on, I got the box score right here. Just read it. 7 of 15, 95 yards and 94 yards and 1 touchdown.
Oh god. But then again, it's like me watching that game, just watching the light in my eyes die as James Cook was like, "All right, I'm James Cook. I'm Devon Chan. This is exactly what we're doing because now we've both had games like this."
Yeah.
James Cook finally just said, "Hey, NFL, look who I am. Y'all done screwed up by letting me go to the Bills."
Hmm.
I was
Right.
wondering would he'd ever get a game like this, if he'd ever get a game like this. I thought after he got benched after that fumble, was that the Broncos game or was that a earlier game
It
that he got
was the
benched?
Broncos game where he got benched.
He got
He got
benched
benched
for a
literally right after the
fumble.
first play after a fumble. Yeah,
Like, that was a puzzling move then, and
it was.
now we're looking at this and going, "You guys really benched him? Really?"
Yeah.
That would have been like if we had benched Devon Chan or Raheem Mostert for 1 fumble. Well, mostly Mostert because he had a couple of fumbles early in the year, but Mostert's just on another level at this point. But regarding what you said earlier, I was more amazed that everything went right for you guys. Everything. I knew the minute Stephon made that one-handed grab, it was over. That was the moment when I knew the Bills were going to ram the ball down your throats and not let go. And I hated it on one end because I needed y'all to lose to make our magic number one, but that was fun. I hate the Cowboys. That was a beautiful beatdown. I just now next week it's going to be our opportunity to do it.
Right.
And you've truly exposed the fact that the Cowboys do not have a run defense.
That is
And
true.
that's what makes me happy because we've got Raheem Mostert tied for, I think actually his total touchdown count leads the NFL now. It should.
Yeah. Just you saw. I literally the first play motion with Diggs like twice. Like Diggs literally went from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, and then he moved. Like the
Mhm.
first play, I'm like, and then even though it went for about like 3 or 4, at that moment, I'm like, the Bills are ready to dominate this game.
Mhm.
Like literally right off the first play. And then a couple plays later, I mean, they're just pushing everyone. I mean, it was supposed to be for like a 5-yard gain, and you just get Josh Allen and the entire offensive line just push James Cook for what it was supposed to be a 5-yard gain, and it turned it into a 13-yard gain. And it's just like the Cowboys might be in trouble.
Ooh,
And
big,
they
big time. You have to think about who they're playing after the Bills. So they got the Dolphins, and then they close out, I believe, with the Commanders because it's not the Eagles. If it was the Eagles, it'd be national television no matter what. I believe.
Dolphins, Lions, Commanders.
Okay, I forgot about the Lions. Kind of a shame because they're such a fun team to watch. But yeah, that's a tough stretch to end the year. The Commanders with Sam Howell, I mean, that's not a team to sleep on. The Commanders and Sam Howell actually have a half decent offense. look at what they did to the Rams. I mean, they
True.
had good movement on the football and were able to move down on that defense with Aaron Donald quite well.
Yeah, that is true.
But that also will segue into another thing. It's like the Commanders have kind of a mediocre record. It's kind of like the Jets. You can't sleep on any team in the NFL. And I believe that a couple of people this year have proven that. And yes, Paul, your team's one of them when you lost to the one-win Patriots a couple of weeks ago. That was one of those games that's just like you can't take anyone in the NFL lightly. And
Right.
you certainly didn't do that with Dallas.
No.
Like you guys
Just
came to play and Dallas came looking like they were kind of scared. I also have to say that I think Orchard Park is probably one of the most intimidating stadiums to play in right now. When's the last time y'all lost at home? Was it
not this year, I don't think. I think we're undefeated at home. That might be wrong. Let me fact check myself
yeah,
before this
definitely.
turns into like a huge meme. We're undefeated at home, but we're not. We're 6-2 at home, but still 6-2 at home. That's Let me look at, other than the Dolphins who are 6-1 at home. Let's look at
Thanks,
the
Tennessee.
NFC. Uh, Eagles are 5-1 at home. The Lions and 49ers are 5-2 and 5-1 respectfully. The Bills at home, you get the Bills at home, it's like having when the Sabres were actually good and people were afraid to step into key banks. I mean, whatever name it was, 15, like 11 years ago. People were scared to enter the center wherever the Sabres were playing, HSBC or First Niagara, one of those places. People coming to Buffalo are scared to play in Buffalo. I mean, even Kevin that his name is Kevin McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Wait, hold on. Who are you talking about? Head
The
coach of
the head coach of the Cowboys.
Oh, that's Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know why I absolute brain farted on that name,
We all
but
do.
Mike McCarthy literally said, quote out to Aaron Andrews of Fox Sports 2. They were they were they said the weather 42 degrees was comfortable and it was like easy. It's like they just walked in with this ego of like, even though it's 42 degrees, windy and rain, we could still walk into Buffalo and beat these guys by 15 if we wanted to.
Well,
They
apparently they
just
didn't want to. Like, they didn't show anything that looked like a competent team. It's like someone told Mike McCarthy, "Hey, y'all have clinched a playoff berth," and they just went into full coast.
true.
Like, that's to be honest, I don't know how that works behind the scenes when it comes to giving coaches or players information on playoff berths, but sometimes I feel like they do it, and that's the result of what happens when they do it.
Right.
Mike McCarthy's like, "Okay, we made the playoffs. Let's coast the AFC games." Because at the end of the day, for the seeding purposes, of course, a loss is going to hurt. But if it comes down to conference records, that Bills game doesn't mean as much as, say, a game against the Lions, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, technically, because they have another one in the Dolphins, which I have a much better feeling about it now than I did last week. Last week, I was like, oh, well, we'll just see how much they clobber the Bills, and that way we'll know if we're concerned or not. Then the
Mhm.
complete other thing happened, and I'm like, okay, I guess that we're absolutely not going to get um, a, a Dallas win. We're going to get a Bills win, and we're going to get either a very humiliated Cowboys team that's going to be looking for revenge, or this is the start of their December collapse. Like always seems to happen every year when they're really good. They seem to always get hyped enough, get ready enough, and then bam, come December, they just fall apart. And I think that was step one of them falling apart. Now, it'd be too bold to say, yeah, they'll lose out. No. they won't lose out, but y'all
No.
definitely humbled them.
Right.
And the worst part about all of that is you got the media going because your MVP star-studded quarterback did nothing. Could you
Yeah.
imagine? Could you imagine for a minute if Mahomes had a running back like that? And the Dolphins
Man.
do have a running back like that, two running backs like that, but they really didn't get on Tua much early in the year for Mostert and a chance performance against Denver. But it's just amazing to me that they're all going to be like, oh, yeah, Allen is this MVP quarterback when he did nothing. But that's frightening.
Oh, it certainly is.
Your tank of a quarterback isn't carrying games. Your running back is that nobody really knows. Your wide receiver, who is really good, by the way. I love Stephon Diggs. Other reasons, notwithstanding former Viking, Minneapolis Miracle all those years ago was an awesome play, and I still remember where I was for that. But now it's more along the lines of this man's just good. I
Right.
won't get over the fact that this man probably douses himself with water before every game because he just always seems to slip through every tackle. And in one case, he slipped through 3 tackles on his way to the end zone, and one of them literally from a standstill. It's like, does this dude practice karate or something? Just to slide right off a defender like it's nothing. Kohu went for the drop tackle, missed. Bethel went for the tackle, missed. I forget who else was back there, but they missed. I think Holland actually nearly got there, but he got there too late. But that's irrelevant. Stephon just does that to everybody, and it's amazing to watch, even though running that score up was the most painful thing to watch at the same time.
That's what the Bills do. I
It's
mean, people
it's amazing.
think the Bills are going to get blown out, but they've only been blown out once in the last 3 years. Just think about that. One blowout loss in the last 3 seasons for the Buffalo Bills.
Wait,
They
who did
either
it?
blow you out, or the Colts did when Jonathan Taylor
Oh
ran for
yeah.
5 touchdowns.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
remember
god,
that. I think
that
that's
was
why Dolphins
absolutely
fans wanted
brutal.
Taylor because he knew that he could do that to y'all twice, but
Yeah, it was brutal.
that was brutal. I remember
It was
that now that you
brutal.
mention it. Jonathan
Yeah.
Taylor really proved he was him that day.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was
I mean, it was
disgusting.
also in Buffalo, so it made it
Oh,
even
that makes it
worse.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair though, that last playoff game against the Dolphins in Buffalo, that could have gone bad. But you didn't get blown out. And that's the thing. You won and we didn't get blown out. But at the end of the day, that was last season. This season, y'all have been blowing out. And that's incredible stuff. The only thing is, it's like, I kept trying to say this a while to a lot of Dolphins fans. I won't say they're dead until I have my shirt on that says AFC East champions Miami Dolphins on it.
Right.
They aren't dead. I don't care how bad of a loss they take one time, 2 times. I mean, look, we just took one ourselves a week ago to the Titans. That was a bad loss. Every team has bad losses. It's about how you rebound from the bad loss. The Bills have rebounded, what, 3 times now since your worst loss?
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are just on this high, after they fired Ken Dorsey after week 10, after that Broncos disaster game. I mean, they went on the road to the Eagles. That was a coaching flop. And then you
Ooh,
get the bye
yes.
week, and then you probably have the worst, I would say, Joe Brady performance, because if Joe Brady gave James Cook the ball the entire game, just exactly what he did last game against the Cowboys, I don't think that Chiefs game is 20-17 in Buffalo's favor. I think Buffalo wins at least 34-17, because I think, just look at it. James Cook that game was on fire, but Joe Brady went into the Ken Dorsey archives and decided to go, let's go continue to pass.
Hmm.
This game, Joe Brady just stuck to the gun. He just said, James Cook, you're running through our offensive line and their defense like it's nobody's business right now. And we're just going to do that. And we're just going to scrap every pass play that we have in our book right now. And we're just going to run the football. And that kind of keys in to where I want to get next is, are the Bills the best team in football right now? Because they found the run game. Josh Allen is having a career season. And then, even though the wide receivers aren't doing as much as they did that they were doing before, it definitely seems like the Bills can beat anyone. The Dolphins can most likely beat anyone. Test this weekend. The 49ers can beat anyone. And then the Eagles can beat practically anyone at this point. Are the Bills one of the few teams that you could say they're the best team in football at the moment, even though the record stands at 8-6?
Honestly, it's going to come down to a few factors that are not really, something that you can control. And that's the fact that ahead of you, you've got Denver, who has the tiebreaker over you. You've got Jacksonville, who has the tiebreaker over you. And you've got Cincinnati, who has the tiebreaker over you. Do I think the Bills in an away game situation could march into any one of those three places and win a playoff game? Yes. I think what they've all been saying lately, the Bills are the most dangerous team. I'd agree. I won't say best because I think the 49ers have just been cleaning
Right.
house for weeks now. The Dolphins, aside from the loss to the Titans, they looked good for most of the Titans game until the very end when the play calling got conservative because they thought they had the game won with Tua, but they didn't because I don't know. I still don't know. And then we went out there and we had our own statement win against the Jets, second ranked passing defense without our wide receiver one, who is an MVP candidate. Like
Mhm.
a wide receiver as an MVP candidate is not something that you would think you'd ever see. But here's Tyreek Hill having one of the greatest years I think we have ever seen from a wide receiver ever. And now, if he wants the 2,000 yards, he actually has to do it in 16 games, which is pretty unbelievable if I am being honest. Here's the thing though, regarding the whole Bills being the best team, put it put it this way. Let's say, right, you get a little bit of luck from Denver. Well, Denver already lost the game to the Lions, so you got a little
Mhm.
bit of help there. Let's say Cincinnati drops a game or so that they maybe shouldn't. Like say they play Pittsburgh this coming week. That's a divisional game. They're always tough. AFC North football is brutal. Say the Steelers get one up on Cincinnati. Oh, now look. Now you are literally right back above them. Say then that Jacksonville finds a rhythm and gets going again. You won't have to worry about them because they will be, you know, competing for the division title, and they'll be at home. Say all the cards fall right, but you still don't win the AFC East because the Dolphins beat the Cowboys and Ravens, which now is actually starting to look kind of possible. The Cowboys don't look good, and the Ravens certainly didn't look good last night. So in this situation, say even hypothetically, Dolphins win out and get the first round bye. Bills manage to get into the playoffs as the seventh seed. Let's think about who your opponent could possibly be. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Jaguars, maybe, and this is a maybe, Texans or the Colts. Just think about it. How many of those teams, those five teams I listed, how many teams of those do you think the Bills could beat?
They personally, I think they can beat all five.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think the only disadvantage is that you'd have to go to the other stadium. But
Right.
you have to think about it this way. If you're the seventh seed and the two is the Chiefs, sure, you have to go to Arrowhead, but your fans travel. I mean,
They do.
they travel. They will fill Arrowhead to the brim as best as they possibly can. And I don't think it'll be with how y'all have been playing, I don't think it'll be the kind of game that we already saw with the Chiefs. But that'll be, that's a whole other question. Because do I think the Chiefs are going to be the 2 seed? Maybe. It depends on how the Ravens finish. Because I'll be honest, if it was us, that would be brutal. We would have to get some pretty good luck going our way to ensure that we wouldn't have to face you in round 1, but I'd be a little concerned, but at the same time, it's called guts. Not many some Dolphins fans just don't have the guts to see y'all again for the second time in 2 weeks. Nah. If it was me, I'd say bring it because that's a real playoff environment. We want that rematch because it'd be at Hard Rock if all went well. But to answer the question overall, yeah, if y'all get into the playoffs, you could do some damage. And if you get to the Super Bowl, heaven forbid, you've got the 49ers who you could play, you got the Eagles you could play, and long shot, you got the Lions you could play in the Super Bowl.
True.
I think the Bills could stand a chance against the Eagles because y'all already nearly did. You could I think you could beat the Lions. The 49ers, I think, would be a tough task. I would
That
say
one might come down to coaching, and that's where my issue is. Or to say, are the Bills the best team? Well, they have Josh Allen, they have Stephon Diggs, they have it looks like they found the run game. Their defense is great. Yeah, Sean McDermott is their defensive coordinator, but being the defensive coordinator, calling the defensive coordinator shots is different than coaching the game and those in-game decisions that you have to make. So, when I think of the best teams, you have to have a good list of things that I can say, well, you're good, but yes, your offense is good, your defense now, what about your coaching? Sean McDermott hasn't really much this season, hasn't checked off the boxes of being a good coach. I mean, you look at all the Bills' losses this year, I believe they're all literally come down to the last possession, basically. The Broncos 12 seconds. You've got the Eagles and in the Eagles and that the whole defensive coaching flop. And, multiple examples. The Patriots game. Just when you say, well, the Bills could go to Arrowhead and face the Chiefs. The issue is, to me, yeah, they could for sure beat the Chiefs. But if it wasn't for Tony to be off sides, I think Reed out coaches McDermott once again and beats the Bills.
it's
That's the
possible.
issue.
And I get that because out of all the coaches you could possibly go against, you have to think about it. I think that your only challenges in the playoffs in terms of just coaching differences, and this is just coaching differences for what I'm about to say, because obviously it might not sound true, but in terms of just sheer coaching, I'd say the worst matchups you could get, Andy Reid, at least
Right.
in the AFC alone, Andy Reid,
Right.
Coach McDaniel, and hold
Doug
on, the name
Peterson.
just slipped my head, John Harbaugh.
Right.
I think it's because Mike McDaniel knows the
Right.
schemes that Buffalo
Mhm.
will run and will be determined
Exactly.
upon every muscle in this man's body to not get blown out 48-20 again. And that would be if we faced you round 1. You
Yeah.
know that he would be cooking up something fairly interesting. So I think that that's key. You've got the coach that I think could beat most of the other coaches.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you could probably McDermott could probably coach circles around someone like Doug Peterson or someone else that you might face in the playoffs. I don't think it, like I said, not Harbaugh, McDaniel, or Reed. Maybe say you win the division, right? Now say you got like
Mhm.
the Colts or the
Right.
Texans. Oh yeah, you're running circles around Shane Steichen and yeah, he is the head coach of the Colts, right?
He
Pretty
is.
sure he is. Yeah, Shane Steichen and D'Amico Ryans, you'll run circles around them in terms of coaching and just overall team talent. Not even
Right.
close.
Coaching
But
might not even come into conversation at that point because
no.
obviously the sheer talent on the field.
Yeah, now that exactly. It's all coaching really comes into play when the talent's either matched up pretty evenly or when it's the other team that's really going at a team that's supposed to be miles better than them. It's like the coaching failure of even Mike McDaniel against the Titans. Coaches call bad games. And in the Broncos game in particular, that y'all's I still say ours was easily Coach McDaniel's best coached game of his entire career. No, second. Arguably even third. Arguably, I'd say that Bills playoff game was one of his better called coaching games because he didn't have Tua. He didn't have hardly anybody still active that was, worth anything on the team. They had Tyreek, they had Waddle, they had Mostert, but you just couldn't get anything going because Skylar Thompson couldn't do anything with the ball, yet they still nearly won. It was 39-31 at one point, and I thought we might win this game,
Mm,
but we didn't. And
right.
that was a testament to Sean McDermott's coaching to be able to finish at the end. It's not to say that I think Sean McDermott would, on paper, is not as good a coach as Mike McDaniel. I think they're actually very similar, just in very different mindsets, obviously, because Sean McDermott obviously was a defensive coordinator before being a head coach. Mike McDaniel was an offensive coordinator before being a head coach. They have masterminds, I'd say now, after watching the Cowboys game, you have a mastermind and an offensive coordinator now to supplement Sean McDermott's weakness. Just like Mike McDaniel has Vic Fangio, a defensive mastermind, which that defense since Ramsey's come back has gone from one of the worst units to one of the best in no time flat. And that was even against the Chiefs. That was against the Eagles. Sure, the Eagles put up 31, but I won't get into too much about refs on the show because that's a whole other can of worms that I don't feel like opening. 11 penalties on us and none on them. Ain't some kind of coincidence that is.
The refs just throughout the league, that could just be one episode by itself, and then you just get all these angry trolls into the comments
Oh, I
just
know.
listening, and then you're just going through it all. But that's enough Bills talk for the moment. And other AFC kind of thing. That's kind of like look league wide because both teams possibly have an MVP front runner. And obviously in the NFC, you got Brock Purdy, you got Dak Prescott, you got Tua. I mean Tyreek. Who do you have right now as the MVP front runner?
This is not a quarterback's year to win MVP. In all fairness to my own guy, Tua Tagovailoa, and in all fairness to Josh Allen, and in all fairness to even Patrick Mahomes, this is not the year a quarterback wins MVP. So if you're going to narrow it down based on a skill position player to win MVP, I hate to say it. Well, I kind of hate to say it. Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP frontrunner right now. This man has been on an absolute tear throughout the entire
Yes.
league, doing literally everything from one position. He's not only a running back, he's a slot receiver, and he's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why the 49ers look like the most complete team in the NFL right now. And right behind him has got to be Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is closing in on that 2,000-yard season. If it wasn't for last week, or this week, heaven forbid, I'm glad he didn't play. A lot
Right.
of us were like, man, he's going to play. He's going to play. And then, no, he didn't play. Thank God for that, because I feel like if he would have tried to play, he could have probably broken his ankle.
Right.
So he's got more of a shot now against the Cowboys, against the Ravens, then against the Bills to hit 2,000 yards. He'll have to do it in 16 games, which will be way over the mark that Calvin Johnson set. If he hits that mark, I say you've got to give him serious consideration as MVP, no matter what McCaffrey does, if Tyreek Hill hits the mark. But that's a tall order right now for a guy that might not hit that mark. If he
Right.
doesn't, I think Christian McCaffrey is a lot more deserving. I don't want to say deserving because I love Tyreek. I think that McCaffrey right now is probably going to win it if McCaffrey doesn't break the record. But let's add some fun into this, Paul. It might not be an MVP frontrunner on paper, but do you have like a dark horse skill position player that you think might be able to win MVP?
If I go back into my brain and back to my early season predictions, I think I had Debo Samuel as my MVP. I mean, skills position. I mean, the stats might not flare because of well, obviously what Christian McCaffrey's doing, but Debo Samuel has been pretty important for the 49ers and what he's doing in San Francisco. And I think, San Francisco has maybe 3 MVPs on their team. I mean, Brock Purdy, if you want to say he is, that's one. You got
Mhm.
Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously the leader of that MVP race. And then you got Debo Samuel says, hi, I could still probably win this thing. So, I mean, even though the 49ers are battling for the 1 seed, there has to be some internal competition going on. Kind of the same thing with Tyreek and Tua. Like, you get Tyreek, yeah, if he breaks 2,000 yards, Tua's also probably breaking 5,000 yards passing. And it's like Tua, who has 5,000 yards, yada yada touchdowns, and how many interceptions. And then you've got Tyreek Hill, receptions, yards, and then touchdowns. It's like, oh, here you go. Like, who do you give it to? And I agree. I think Christian McCaffrey's by far priority right now. Just if you're going to break down skills position and quarterback, he's obviously Christian McCaffrey. If you have him on your fantasy team, you were probably just powering through your fantasy playoffs at the moment. Except me, who just doesn't follow up on fantasy, has nobody on the team except Justin Jefferson. But but I mean, Christian McCaffrey is good. If you look at a quarterback that could win it, I don't think any quarterback has really separated themselves or
Nope.
has stand out. Yeah,
Nope.
Josh Allen's having a career season, but he hasn't really stand out. Yeah, the record of the Bills makes it
Yeah.
8-6. Yeah, he
Yep.
has some fluky turnovers,
Oh,
but I don't think
yeah.
that's the 100% the issue here. Patrick Mahomes hasn't. I mean, if you want to talk regression, I think that's one quarterback who has regressed. And then you got
Yes.
Dak Prescott.
Out of it.
Yeah,
Out of it. That one
yeah,
game,
no,
toss him out of it
yeah,
right now. You cannot give Dak Prescott any MVP consideration unless he absolutely has 3 perfect games back to back to back. That Bills game and how he performed, get him out.
right,
I don't think that he stands any chance anymore. But let me poke your brain a little bit, Paul.
right. Poke it,
You know how you said that the 49ers have
right,
Brock Purdy,
right,
Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey
right.
that could all win MVP. Well, let me
Defensive
let me
team,
also tell you something. You also said how the Dolphins have Tua and Tyreek.
right.
They've got a third player too that might actually have a solid shot to win MVP,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Raheem Mostert. Now
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you why it could be Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert has been unbeatable on the ground the past, honestly, the whole season. I think there were only just a few games that he was held without a touchdown. One of those, I believe, was the Eagles game. I believe the Bills game was the other one.
Right,
No, I think he might have got one against the Bills. But this man has 20 total touchdowns. The league record for total touchdowns, I believe, is like 31 from LaDainian Tomlinson in like 2007. I could be wrong. If you want to fact check me, Paul, please do. But The record is absolutely, with a couple of great games for Mostert, within reach. If he ties or even breaks LaDainian Tomlinson's total touchdown record, he has to be in consideration at this point.
Mhm.
This is a man that literally just powered the Dolphins. Hypothetically, say he goes off the last few games, give him the MVP because he just powered through and gave the Dolphins the first round bye by himself. Like, you have to think that Raheem Mostert should also get consideration on a team with two other MVP candidates, which would hypothetically make a 49ers Dolphins Super Bowl with three MVP candidates going against three MVP candidates. One of the greatest games I think we'll ever
How
see in
many
our
total
lives.
touchdowns did you say Raheem Mostert had?
I think it's 20. I could be wrong. I think it was
He's 8 away. It's LaDainian Tomlinson at 28.
okay. He's 8 away from the total touchdown record.
Yeah.
He could
It's
probably pull it off.
NFL rush. Oh, that might be rushing. Hold on.
Yeah, check and make sure it's not total touchdowns because I believe the record is total touchdowns.
Okay.
Either way, he's 8 from the rushing touchdown total though. That's
Right.
impressive on its own. I'd say out of any skill position player, you got to also include Raheem Mostert. And yes, you also should include Debo Samuel. They're both
Mhm.
incredible players for their respective teams. And yeah, I know I got the hat on. I obviously might have a leg in this, but no, even just aside from that, if you just look at how he plays, he's been playing like a man possessed since they told him we're going to trade for Jonathan Taylor, we're going to sign Dalvin Cook, we might trade for Derrick Henry. Look
It
at him.
is 31, by the way.
That's what I thought. See, Raheem Mostert took that personally and is on a mission. That mission is to prove everybody wrong, and he's done it. So I think as long as you don't necessarily like you can't just discount Raheem Mostert right now, but yeah, a lot of people will because Tua and Tyreek are on this team. How broken and busted would it be to have a third MVP candidate?
Right.
So the way I see it is maybe a quarterback does win it. Maybe Brock Purdy wins it. Maybe not Patrick Mahomes. He has definitely regressed, as you said. Maybe Tua Tagovailoa wins it. Maybe by some crazy happenstance, Josh Allen wins it. At the end of the day, I don't see a quarterback winning this MVP. I see a skill position player, and if you got any ideas, I still feel like it's either going to be Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Debo Samuel, Raheem Mostert, maybe. I mean, I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. Like, no, it won't be Devon Chan. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say Jalen Waddle either. So anybody watching, I'm not about to. I'm not going full homer here, but this is an interesting MVP race.
It
This is
is
the year
very
that
interesting
this is the year
because
a quarterback does not deserve it. Not a one. Not even my own guy Tua. Nuh-uh. I love him. He's been playing great football, but not better than a lot of the skill position players have put forth on their team, especially not Tyreek. Tyreek and McCaffrey have looked unbeatable, and a Super Bowl between these two. Anybody remember the Rams Chiefs game from 2018? Yeah, we might see two more 50-point games. 50 points for each team, 100 points combined. Good Lord. We win that one, I will be crying. Like, we just went toe to toe with them, and that'd be something else entirely. But,
the 2012 MVP voting,
oh, you looked
Adrian
that up.
Peterson was 1, and then Peyton Manning, who was almost to 5,000 yards, was 2. But I guess maybe he didn't because he didn't eclipse 5,000. They said Adrian Peterson, who has 2,097 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns and 12 rushing touchdowns. You are and 1 receiving touchdown. You are the MVP in 2012. I don't know who else was in that MVP, quota in 2012, but to go almost we're almost 10 years to that. and not to have, and then the rest of the years has just been quarterback dominant. And then this year, the lack of, I guess you could say, quarterback. The word just completely fell out of my brain. I was just about to be the most perfect sentence I ever completed on the show, and then my brain just fries. But I guess you could say it's kind of like quarterback regressing. Like there's not quarterback. There's not one quarterback or two quarterbacks that are dominating this league right now.
Nope.
It's just a bunch of quarterbacks that are out there looking good, but they just haven't stood out. But then you get all these skills positions players that are standing out right now, and I think there's so many of them that one of them has to win MVP, and I just don't, like you said, and I fully agree with you that a skills position player is winning MVP. I
They
can't
have to.
I can't just see the people voting, yeah, as much as my heart says, yeah, Josh Allen should be MVP, I'm not calling for it. I don't really wholeheartedly like, yes, Josh Allen should be MVP, and I can give you 15 reasons why. But should those 15 reasons why give him MVP? Probably not. You look at Christian McCaffrey, you're looking at Tyreek Hill, who's almost to 2,000 yards. If you just give a quarterback, any quarterback that's been playing up to average or just a little bit above average, you're just basically saying the skills positions players, what they're doing doesn't mean much.
Mhm.
Like why even, I guess you could go back to FSU. Why play the games? Like
Don't do it.
why play the game? If these guys going for 2,000 yards and you're just going to record a quarterback getting the
Yeah.
MVP who just doesn't really deserve it. If that
Yeah.
any of that ever makes any sense.
Nah, because in college, quarterback wins matter. They're a quarterback stat apparently because we got screwed because one guy being out compromised a team of elite talent. We had our own we had our own studs in Trey Benson, Keon Coleman, and Johnny Wilson, and on defense we had Jared Verse. Yeah,
I
no, we
didn't want
didn't
to
get
turn
to
into
compete.
this, but it's just like I'm
No,
being serious. Like
I'll start
the
yelling
last three
because I'm
weeks
still
have been
mad.
holding a grudge on this, and every week in every show that we've just done so far, I've just had some way of connecting it back to it because it made no sense.
Nope.
But honestly, with that, that's a perfect segue to the college football topic for tonight. We're going to spend small as we also are trying to get this over before the start of this wonderful Monday Night Football game. Chip Kelly made an interest. I don't know if you've seen the Chip Kelly video.
Oh no.
At his press conference when he was asked about conference realignment and NIL. He really
Oh
just
no.
said college football should just be independent. All 64 teams should just be independent, no conferences, and we all just play each other
What?
because Notre Dame is independent from football at least. And even though they play in their conference, Notre Dame is independent and they still have a right to get to the playoffs because of their non-conference bid and how they play. So 64 teams, they all share one media deal, and the media deal media deal money goes to the players because they're the ones who's producing this product. So like UCLA, obviously, UCLA will play 5 teams from like the East Coast. They switch every other couple of years, and they play one Mountain West team, just to keep the rivalry going. He said, and then it's just who else is on the ballot, really, just you play. Do you think that is a good way to fix this college football realignment, is just basically say, hey, SEC, give up all your money and power. Hey, Big Ten, do the exact same thing. We're just going conferenceless and you
Gross.
just represent yourself based off based off like sponsorships, like he noted like Nike, like you call yourselves like the Nike section or whatever.
Oh my God. Does anybody take Chip Kelly seriously anymore? He was one of the worst head coaches I ever saw play the game of football, and he's still making terrible takes. Oh my God. Okay. First of all, this is just me. I'm probably in the very large minority on this, but I think 64 teams for college football is way too many. I think they need to cut that pretty much in half. 32 teams, just like how maybe 32 teams, maybe even 16, like the NFL does. You got 16, two conferences, 8 and 8. Six of them make the playoffs. Six of them make the playoffs. Boom, you have the national championship game. Because let's be honest, that's way better than this stupid format they have right now that sent an undefeated Power Five conference champion packing because one quarterback was missing. So I think the whole idea of no alignment, no conference is just dumb. There's no way I think you could maintain good structure with it either. Like, you got to be able to have conferences where you can have a meaningful conference champion. Oh, wait, the games don't matter now. I forgot. So I don't know. Maybe Chip Kelly was onto something if he's thinking on that basis, but what could you really do other than make it where you've got one, maybe two major conferences that all the teams are in? Like, I know a bunch of teams are leaving. What was it? The Big Ten to go to the SEC. I know Texas was leaving to go to the SEC, or were they in the? I forget where they were. I don't think Big 12 because that was Michigan. I think it was Big Ten, right? Like they left the big.
UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington all left the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. Then Texas and Oklahoma were just the two that went to the SEC.
Yeah,
And then the rest
Texas.
of the Pac-12 really went to the uh, Big 12, other than Cal and Stanford, who went to the ACC. And then
Uh,
Oregon State and Washington State's just left alone.
yeah, we got freaking we got freaking those two in the ACC now. Literal roadblocks for FSU. But no, I feel bad for my sister's team. Texas going to the SEC where you have to play a conference championship game against Alabama or Georgia. Good
Yeah.
luck. They might have just shot themselves in the foot by going to the SEC when they could have gone to someone like the ACC where your competition's Florida State and that's Florida State. You know, maybe Clemson gets better next year. Maybe Louisville actually shows up again like they did this year. Maybe even Georgia Tech throws something in the ring. Who knows? But conferences matter and they need to stay as they are just so we have some kind of clarification on the best team in this particular conference. That way, when you have, what is it, 8 teams coming up now or 12?
It's 12.
Okay, 12 teams. That's a good move because this is the year where they needed 12 teams.
Oh, for
Obviously,
sure.
Florida State, but you got Georgia who had one bad game.
Right.
One bad game all within the span of 2 years and is eliminated because of one bad game. Is that really fair to Georgia?
Not really.
No, but at the end of the day, they don't have much of a case if they wanted to start complaining to the SEC. Or,
Their
well, if they want,
schedule was also cake, so I mean,
their schedule's always cake. They're copying Alabama now. Alabama's schedule for years was cake. This might have been one of the easiest Georgia schedules I think I've ever seen in my life. And then Alabama, they only really played Texas and got demolished. So it's just one of those things where it's like, how would you even like categorize stuff like this with no conferences? What would
see
you really
would
do?
that would just kind of be, if I imagine this right, kind of be like the BCS in a way. In a way.
Oh no.
Before the BCS became the CFP. Obviously, I don't know much of the BCS era. I really know of the CFP era. That's the era I've really started watching college football. So tell me if I'm wrong about the BCS and how terrible it wasn't terrible, but just the way it was structured didn't really make much sense. Just no, if you just say no conferences and just say, hey, Florida State, just go up against anybody and just hopefully it really just gives you free range. Honestly, you could play one of the other 64 teams and you can just basically say, hey, Florida State, you could play Cincinnati, you could play UCF, you can play Buffalo, you
What
could
a
play
free
Ohio.
what
I
a
mean,
free
it's free
series of
for
wins.
all.
Yep. What a free series of wins. Good
Literally, you could
lord.
just say, hey, make your 12, obviously you get, you keep your rivalry games against like Florida and Boston College and all that. But other than that, you get free range. You could play, you could have Boise State come here. You could have UB come to Florida State, which UB goes to Ann Arbor in 2027. That should be fun. Throw that on ABC and their primetime slates. That should be, well, not, sorry, on the CBS primetime slate because now the Big Ten going to CBS and all that. So, like, that could be fun.
Oh
just,
god.
just, I know this obviously goes off topic. Just imagine they say Michigan UB primetime CBS and they're trying to sponsor and they're trying to they're trying to get people to watch that game, not me. Uh,
Prime time CBS. That means you have to subject Kevin Harlan to what could be a torturous game. Why would anybody do that to that beautiful man? Give him Florida State games and he'll be fine. But to be fair, I could go all day about how Kevin Harlan just needs to leave CBS and join the local Miami group because they always do better with him. But that's another can of worms, and that's another special episode for the show. I'll tell you that right now
all right.
because I love that guy. But at the end of the day, no, I agree. Could you imagine Michigan getting all that? Like, they don't need any more publicity. Who knows? They might
No.
be without their head coach next year. Jim Harbaugh might have finally said, I've had enough, and wants to go somewhere like, quick, off the top of your head, who do you think is going to have a head coaching vacancy in the NFL? We already got
Chicago.
one. Okay. Aside from Chicago, that one's painfully obvious. Chicago, yes.
Oh,
No longer the Bills. You can't say that anymore. No one's gonna fire
you
McDermott at
can't.
this point.
No.
No,
Just
the
right
calls
off
for
the
his
top of
head
my head, Seattle.
if Pete Carroll retires. I don't know if he'll really retire or not.
You're telling me to just go based off my head and just trying to think. I mean,
Okay, you do
Seattle
have a
could
point.
definitely. Uh, uh, do you? Nah, nah, that won't be it.
Who?
Oh, Sean McVay
The
out.
Rams?
Yeah,
Okay. He would
TV
basically be
interest.
he maybe yes. He'd take that TV deal and then go do whatever he wanted with whatever. I think it was like CBS is where he was rumored.
Fox. It'd be
Fox? Okay.
easy.
Yeah.
Fox is right in LA.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I could see if he took the deal, then yes, Rams would be an option. The one we're all obviously, I mean, it's rumors, but Patriots, that would be a nightmare. Please, let's not go there.
Possibly Green Bay. Atlanta, obviously. Green Bay,
Atlanta, yeah.
maybe.
If it ain't Atlanta, it should not be anybody else other than Atlanta. Get Arthur Smith out of that city right now. I'm not the guy that wasted a fantasy pick on Bijan Robinson, but I feel for the ones that did. That's criminal. They used him like hardly at all. I think he had what 11 yards and then the fumble. Oh yeah, we
Something
should
like that.
actually speak of other games. We should get to the game predictions because we got some fun. I got some fun analysis for these.
Yeah,
Let's jump into it.
that's where I was anticipating to get to.
Well, we're
Uh,
getting there now. Let's do it.
we are there now. I want
Yes.
to try something different with these game picks. I just like the thought of adding background music to uh the game picks might just be entertaining, maybe. I don't know how loud this is going to be, so as I play this back, I gonna lower it down maybe just a little bit, just to make sure the music's not too loud, so we're just muffled out by the other music. StreamYard has this rock music that I was jamming to like 10 minutes before the show. I'm like, this could be cool. So obviously I'm wasting time. We're gonna play this rock music during the our game picks and build suspense as I now put our records up as we will get to the first game pick of the season. Well, not of the season.
I was about to say, of the season, please, let's restart. There's been too many
Of the
bad
week of-
injuries. Let's restart.
for the weekend. How about Mason Rudolph possibly up against Jake Browning?
Jake Browning. What kind of a game is this? Let's be real. What kind of a game is this? Who is
Noah
gonna...
Eagle and Top Blackledge game. That's the type of game.
This is one of those games you're gonna be maybe not asleep by the end of the half, but you're gonna be turning the game off because you're like, are these quarterbacks good? Because I can guarantee you, from my time in Ninjaland, Mason Rudolph is not a good quarterback. You cringe every time he comes onto the field. He had one stint 2019 where he looked like that guy until the Ravens knocked him out of the game with a bad concussion. I hated it for him. I really hope that he can. He obviously recovered because he's still playing, but he hasn't been that same Mason Rudolph. And you're going to put him out there with an underrated talent, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and Jake Browning's been looking so good. I know I went against the Steelers the last time I picked, but I can't this time. Well, this could be a game where you just flip a coin with the backup quarterbacks and how AFC North football is very hard-nosed and brutal. You could go any way on this. So
who are you going?
Yeah, that's the question, ain't it? You know what? I'd say give me the Bengals. I think that Jake Browning is just going to be him. You know, you still got Jamar Chase. You still got T. Higgins. They're going to win the game. They're going to win the game because the Steelers are just going to continue that skid to what will probably be Mike Tomlin's first losing record ever. And to segue into the last point, he might just say, I'm done. He might retire. Steelers might get Jim Harbaugh as a head coach. Wouldn't that be a storyline? So I'm taking the Bengals.
It's definitely a weird game if you're a Bills fan because you're like, well, you need the Bengals. You know, you need the Steelers to lose, playoff, whatever. But then if the Bengals win, it's like another team you have to hurdle because basically the Bengals just go into the place of the Steelers at this point. I just for competitive purposes of these game picks, I'm taking Cincinnati because Ben's having a great week with game pick wise. I'm not. So give me the Bengals. Hopefully I gain some ground tonight because of the Monday night game we picked last week. But Ben also had the Bengals. Jenna is to be determined. We'll grab her game picks another time.
Yeah, I imagine she'll probably want the Bengals unless she decides to just be the rebel that she is and go with the Steelers. But
all right. This is a current playoff matchup right now. The Lions at the Vikings, but flip-flop it for the playoffs. It would be Vikings at the Lions, but for regular season purposes, it's Lions at Vikings.
What a gross thing to say, considering this team in the playoffs after what they just went through last week. I'm not even talking about the Bengals game. I'm talking about that 3-0 win against the Raiders. This is a playoff team doing that? Like, this is solely my opinion. I only see one of these teams at the end of the year making the playoffs, and it's obvious, and it's the obvious. It's Detroit. Minnesota's probably going to fall out because I just don't see Nick Mullins, even with Justin Jefferson, even with TJ Hawkinson. I don't see them competing in the long run. When they get to the playoffs, if they get there, they're just going to fizzle and just fall apart immediately. I don't see the Vikings as a competitive team at the moment. They were with Kirk. Kirk Cousins was another solid MVP candidate until he got hurt. So, you know, it sucks. I hate it for Minnesota because they looked really good.
Right.
but I'm going to have to take Detroit. The pick seems obvious. Jared Goff with another crazy day. Amon-Ra St. Brown with another crazy day. Aiden Hutchinson should have been #1 overall pick with another crazy day. Yeah, I'm probably a little bitter that he didn't go to Jacksonville, but at the end of the day, Lions are going to win, push the agenda of them making the playoffs, and as a matter of fact, I believe tonight they will clinch a playoff berth under the right conditions. If I remember correctly, they should clinch a playoff berth with a Seattle loss.
Yes.
So,
I think remembered correctly.
yes, we all love the fact that a Detroit Lions team is going to be in the playoffs. They might have one of the worst histories as a franchise other than the Cleveland Browns. So, we all love it. Let's go Detroit.
All right. Ben is going to pick the upset in this game. He is going Vikings. I don't know why. If Ben was here, he could explain, but
yeah, why are we letting him cook? He's gonna burn whatever he's cooking.
But, I mean, it's a bold take. I mean, I had the Cardinals over the Cowboys earlier this year. I would assume Jenna's probably going Detroit. He's going to stand alone at this. Let him cook if Minnesota pulls off the upset.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's going to happen. Detroit's going to win. They're not going to look like frauds again.
No.
Maybe in a few weeks they will, but not this week.
No. Not the Vikings.
Christmas. We're feeling festive on this podcast. Oh, no, sorry. That's a couple more picks. Sorry, excuse me. We're not feeling festive at the moment.
Yeah, this is
Jaguars,
the opposite of festive.
Jaguars at Bucks in what could be, if the NFL had bowl games, the Florida Bowl.
Yes, this is Florida Man, the bowl game, and I'm here for it. I love it whenever the two Florida teams play each other, whether it's Jags at Bucks, Dolphins at Jags, Dolphins at Bucks. You know what I mean. It's a beautiful time every time these two teams meet up, and I love it for the Jags because they don't have to travel but just a couple hours to the other side of the coast. You're going down one of the worst stretches in Florida, one of the worst highways imaginable on this planet twice. But no, as far as the game goes, I have been a huge fan of Baker Mayfield for eons. I loved what he did in Cleveland initially. That 48-37 win over Pittsburgh in the playoffs was just the most beautiful thing I think I've seen in my life. But the way I see it, right, I think the Jags, this could be a game decided by if Trevor Lawrence plays or not. Right. He's currently in the concussion protocol. If he does not play this game, I say Tampa Bay wins. If Lawrence does play in this game, you have to think about the nagging injury to the ankle that he suffered against. It wasn't the Ravens. It was the game before the Ravens. I can't remember who they played off the top of my head, but that ankle injury, I think, the Bengals. I believe that's going to play a bit of a factor if he decides he's going to play at all. To that end, give me Tampa Bay over the Jacksonville Jaguars in a stunning upset. It'll further the Bucks NFC South playoff agenda, and it will actually give the Houston Texans the lead in the AFC South. There you go.
I love the story of the Houston Texans. Obviously not for the Bills' purposes, obviously, but just the story of the Houston Texans is an awesome story to watch unfold. And, if the Bills don't make the playoffs, maybe Cinderella runs can happen. I mean, you see it all the time. Ben has the upset in this one, Tampa Bay over Jags. I was thinking about this. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, if he doesn't play, he also doesn't look right. The connection between him and Ridley, it's been awful. They scored 7 points against the Raiders on Sunday Night Football. With that being said, Baker Mayfield also had a perfect passer rating last week. Good job for him. Not the biggest Baker fan, but for the Bills' playoffs hopes, and with a lot of things happening in Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville is going to continue their December flop. They're going to drop to the Bucks in this game, so I take the Bucks. All right.
That's what I'm talking about, Paul. You know it. You know it.
Sunday, maybe the game of the weekend.
Yeah, we said that
Because
last
all
time.
the other Christmas primetime games are meh. This is the game you want to sit down and watch. Dallas at Miami. I have a feeling where you're going.
I'm not going to say much because you already know exactly where this is going because you saw what happened last week. I've made this point abundantly clear on Twitter multiple times. James Cook might be a great running back, but he's not Raheem Mostert. He's not even Devon Achane. This is going to get ugly fast if Mike McDaniel sticks to the run game. And that's even with maybe sit Tyreek another game. I don't think Tua's going to need to throw that much. If most of the offensive line comes back healthy, Armstead continues to play at the level he is, Austin Jackson plays the level he is, clean up the penalties from the O-linemen that aren't bona fide starters, clean it up, focus on the run game. It is over very quickly, just like the Buffalo game was. Fins up, we win. And that just makes your life even more miserable as the Bills fans, because now the magic number goes from 2 to 1. Anyway, give me that take, Paul. I want to hear it. Give me that scalding take.
Ben has Dolphins.
I know. Let him cook because he gets it. Let him cook.
My bone, this pick goes against every bone in my body.
Oh, you're gonna do
if I pick Miami, I'm like, woohoo, go Miami. If I pick Dallas, which I completely hate, and been hating on them all season, and people have been laughing at me. If I pick Dallas, I'm going against everything else in my brain. But I need Dallas to beat Miami. But based off what James Cook just did to Dallas's defense, and you got Achane, Mostert in the Miami backfield, if I don't think 6 days is going to fix whatever just happened to the Cowboys defense, and don't give me the Cowboys defense was sick. You could still tackle and do something when you're sick. I'm going to pick Miami in this game.
Let's go, Paul. Cook. You get it.
Feel like we're going to watch Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen, who always just get Cowboys games, apparently, just melt down in the booth again. We're getting that.
We need that. We all need that we just need it. We need it in our bones. I know y'all really don't, but man, the rest of us, we just need Dallas to get humiliated again. I know.
Let's make these last two picks quick. We're running into the wonderful Monday Night Football game we have currently going on right now. Christmas. First game on Christmas. Raiders at Chiefs.
Oh, okay. I know the Raiders just put up 63. They put up 63 against the Chargers. Are we that moved by the Raiders? I'm not. I'm actually more amazed they put up 63 at all. I feel like the Chargers defense just had a really bad day. I am going Chiefs. I hate to, because that'd be some fun in the AFC West if the Raiders win, but I can't go with the Raiders. I have to take the Chiefs. Okay. I don't know if Kelsey's hurt or not, because he looked like for a while against the Patriots he was down and out, but I think he played the game out and finished it. So give me the Chiefs. Just give me the Chiefs. I hate to, but
Ben has the Chiefs.
Yeah.
No, I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, you just said it. Raiders throw up 63 against Easton Stick. That doesn't move the needle.
No.
But upsets happen. It's Christmas in Arrowhead. I mean, it's not Christmas in Vegas. It's Christmas in Arrowhead, and cold Arrowhead.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be advantage Chiefs. Give me the Raiders for that reason.
Oh, okay. I like it, Paul. Cook. You also brought up home field. One of the worst teams on the road, Dallas. They have to go to Miami on a short notice. That's another reason why I'm so confident. Anyway, this last one, Oh, ho, 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 ho.
This
Let's cook
is what
this one.
Christmas is about.
You know what I hate?
49ers Ravens.
Man, you know what I hate about this? This is my fantasy quarterback against my fantasy running back. And I'm in the semifinals in fantasy because of both of those guys. Man, this is going to be a game where you're going to have to rely. This is the coaching game. This is the coach game right here. Are you going to take Kyle Shanahan or John Harbaugh? Personally, I am putting all AFC bias aside. There's no thought in my mind of Ravens losing this game. Dolphins get a better shot at the 1 seed. No, this is a full coaching and schematic design. I can't see the Ravens competing. I can't see John Harbaugh out coaching Kyle Shanahan for a full 60 minutes. Will the game be competitive? Yes. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, when you need that fourth quarter stop, Niners defense is going to pull through. Give me the 49ers. They're going to prove once again with yet another statement win on their season why this team is going to the Super Bowl. And who knows? Maybe they're going to the Super Bowl against the team they're playing right now. If anybody wants to believe that hokey conspiracy about how the NFL likes to make their Super Bowl logos with the colors of the teams playing, I don't buy it, but you never know. This could very well be a 49ers-Ravens Super Bowl, but give me the 49ers in this week.
Lamar Jackson is undefeated against the NFC in his career. But most of those games were probably at home. This is going on the road to San Francisco.
Is it?
Obviously, the Christmas effect here, but San Francisco, who's just been destroying every team in their path. It doesn't matter. They destroy the Eagles. They destroy the Cowboys.
Oh,
I mean, they're just a standing rock of boulder, just continuing just to plow through your town. Do I think this game is going to be competitive? Yes. Have we seen Lamar Jackson actually beat a really big competitive team? Not really. He's been iffy in the playoffs. Haven't really seen it. The record hasn't been good enough to get a first place or a second place schedule. For that reason, I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to withstand much of a chance against Kyle Shanahan and that wonderful offense he's got there.
yes.
Give me the 49ers. Could this be a competitive game? Yes. But don't be surprised if it's competitive through 3 quarters and the 49ers start to pull away.
Yeah.
That's the show.
And I mean, my fantasy team is going to love either outcome. If Lamar Jackson plays out of his mind, or whether Lamar Jackson, kind of takes a back seat to Christian McCaffrey. Either way, my fantasy team is satisfied, and I'm gonna get to that championship if one of those two has a great game. It will be something else.
I think
And I'm ready for it.
my average fantasy team in the Undercovers league is coasting. I haven't really touched the roster since like mid-season, so it's like whatever. I mean, I think even though Jefferson was hurt, I still kept him in my lineup. So he's just there, just sitting there like, hey, it's me.
Yeah, just inactive, racking you up duds every week.
So it's like my average fantasy team's doing just fine, just has to coast. Probably won't
Fair.
be up against any competitiveness next week, but hey, I advanced the round. But new co-host, Dolphins fans. I mean, we went an hour and 20 today. That's like literally doubling the amount of time we probably go in a week. We normally go about an hour, maybe an hour
Yep.
5. But we also started super late, so like we caught up the extra 10. We're missing the first 15 minutes of the Monday night game. So with that, we thank Tommy for all of his work. We're starting a new era of the Undercovers with Connor. Hope you guys enjoyed. I've been seeing the numbers fluctuate of YouTube viewers today from high to low. So great. Thank you to all the people who watched and to the people that are still watching. this very long edition of the show. Hopefully next week we get back to our normal. Well, next week is Christmas. Don't expect us to go here on Christmas. We're not giving you a Christmas gift. We're we're probably enjoying Christmas, so don't expect a show next Monday. We'll probably be on Wednesday. Uh, Most likely the second best day for all of us. So we'll
Yeah.
chat once again in about a week and a half. Any last final thoughts?
I'll be in my hidey hole if the Dolphins blow this to the Cowboys. I promise you right now, I will not want to talk about it. But you know, I'll be here to talk about the rest of it, especially if the trap game that I've been trying to troll Bills fans with on Twitter, y'all are the Chargers
We we never really touched on the Chargers game. It was definitely a thing I
trap,
listed, but just all the
trap.
other stuff. Just a quick note before we sign off. I really do think this could be a trap Bills game.
I'm glad you
I'm
think
going back.
so. No one
I'm
else in your
going
fan
back to
base
the
does.
one reason why I say this because the Bills were double-digit favorites against New England and we lost. We're
Hmm.
double-digit favorites. We're right now. I think the line's at 13.5. I would expect that thing to probably to fluctuate, probably go up just a little bit, depending on injuries and all that. This week, it feel like this. I expect the Bills to win, but it gives me that weird feeling
Yeah.
what I had against the
You
Patriots, where
yeah, you lost that. That was a trap. Broncos was a trap. You guys have lost your fair share of traps.
right,
I I can't maybe yeah, sure. Y'all probably win. As much as I'm literally sitting here like we have the clinching scenario. I want to cry, be on my knees celebrating that AFC East championship, but no, it's not going to happen. It's not. I want to believe it will, but it won't. Y'all will
okay,
win the game easily, maybe. I'd say most likely it might be a competitive game if the Bills forget about this game and they're thinking towards the Dolphins. I wish that was true, but I don't think it's going to be true. I
all
don't.
right. We gotta get going. We're going super long. Hope you all enjoyed the ones that were still watching this and not watching Monday Night Football. Tune in next week. Tune into our socials to figure out what day we're going live next week. Obviously, Monday's the holiday. Most likely won't go live on Christmas, but hey, who knows? We'll give you a Christmas present in advance. Who knows? Just stay tuned to our socials. Follow both of us. Follow all the hosts. Follow the show. We also are on audio platforms if you feel like listening on the go. With that, thanks Connor for coming on,
Oh yeah.
well, joining our wonderful football movement,
Oh
and thanks
yes.
Tommy who's gone off to other things and will no
Yeah.
longer be a host
He
here.
was
Hope
he
he
was
does
fun.
well. We're getting out of here. Good night, go Bills.
Fins up.